Welcome back to another episode of Real Results with Coach Joe. I'm your host, Coach Joe Villegas. This is the program where we help you to improve your health, increase your wealth, and live a more fulfilling life. And I'm super excited for my guest today. I have none other than Kelly Springer, the CEO and founder of Kelly's Choice, a nutritional consulting company working with folks from all over the place, individuals, businesses, physicians' offices as well. And Kelly tackles one of my favorite topics close to my heart, which is nutrition. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, pleasure is all mine. So I want to dive right into it, Kelly. I know Kelly's Choice is just crushing it when it comes to going from really what traditional healthcare is, which is sick care, to health care, well care. But I want to hear your story. I want to hear how you got this thing started and how you've made Kelly's Choice into what it is today.
Oh, well, thanks so much. Well, it started, my aunt was a dietitian, so I got to see that she could use her degree with her family and also be able to really be an innovator. So she was working with grocery stores and she was working with colleges and all these things. I'm like, this is the best profession ever. So I got started right at 16 years old, pushing trade cards and passing out menus in the hospital, and doing all these different things in nutrition. I would work with preschools and I loved educating.
Wow.
And then I was really fortunate to get my first real job after my master's in health education with Cornell Cooperative Extension and really pushing out nutrition education to our community. And still to this day, I love community health because I truly believe that if our communities are healthier, then we're going to have better businesses, more productive people, and honestly, people will be happier. And so we all want happy people, right? So, and then it went into bariatrics and getting certified in adult weight management. But the real jumping off place for me was working for Wegmans Food Markets. I was hired as the employee dietitian, not for the consumers, but for the employees.
Right.
Because Danny Wegman found out that he had high blood pressure and he said, oh my gosh, we're self-insured. And if I didn't know I had high blood pressure, how many of my employees might have this?
Right.
So Danny was, again, very innovative and hired dietitians throughout the East Coast to work with his employees. And through that, we were able to see a drop in workers' comp. We were seeing a drop in any of the claims. So he really saw that the dietitians were making a huge impact on that wellness.
Wow.
For his employees.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just that little shift, even in awareness, right, when it comes to nutrition, can have such an impact. So you went from Wegmans, and then where'd you fire off to after that?
Well, it was really interesting because at Wegmans, I wanted to do more because of my background in Cornell Cooperative. I wanted to do more education with the employees, but I was a little bit stifled on what I could do.
Okay.
So during that time, I started Kelly's Choice.
Right.
So Kelly's Choice was started in October of 2012, and it started as a collective of dietitians because in that moment also, I was going through divorce and was totally broke with 2 little kids. And so I was doing all this little side hustle, and I was getting really good at getting the jobs. But there was only one of me.
Right.
So I reached out to my dietitian friends, and that's how Kelly's Choice started. So today, I'm proud to say we have 17 dietitians across the U.S.
Wow.
And we work collectively. So there's different specialties in working with digestive health, working with diabetes, working with sports.
Wow.
So all different types of nutrition education.
That's amazing. And so I guess what do you find is the main focus for your team then? Is it mostly working with individuals or sort of these larger groups? I mean, Wegmans is a household name, right? Everyone knows Wegmans, but I mean, really, where do you find that focus shifting to?
Well, it's interesting. We just got this incredible analogy, which I think makes sense. And I'm really glad. So I just talked to this really cool girl. Her name's Sarah. She owns a company called Upper.
Okay.
And she goes, Kelly, basically, you're the school nurse for the work site.
I love that.
And I was like, that's like the best analogy. So she's like, you're able to do group conversations like with the kids. You're able to have one-on-one if they need a Band-Aid or their stomach hurts. You're able to do PE classes because you have a whole exercise program.
Right.
She goes, you literally can take over in group setting, video creation, and also doing that one-on-one. So this is where we're really the school nurse for any organization that across the country, any size too.
Yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like you're doing quite a bit more. I remember my school nurse, if you didn't feel good, you got a Gatorade and some saltine crackers. So I'm glad to hear you guys are doing quite a bit more than that. which is
Yes,
amazing.
and that's why we only work with registered dietitians on our team is because we are able to go into that medical nutrition therapy.
Right.
A lot of people don't know the difference, and those dietitians have 7 years of a degree,
Wow.
and we also have to get 75 continue ed credits every 5 years to stay up to date on the newest research.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Nutrition, I mean, it's not a black and white topic, right? There's so many factors that go into it. I mean, I was just at a conference last week in Las Vegas speaking on a panel about food environments, even the environment that you are subject to, where you live and your geography, what's available, the cost of those foods. I mean, there's so much that plays into it. I would love to hear a little more, and I'm sure the viewers would too, if you could just dive into the details about, the breadth and depth of what those registered dietitians are able to handle. Like someone might be watching this saying, do I really need like all that heavy lifting that a registered dietitian can do? Do I just need a coach? If you don't mind elaborating a little bit on that, just to show folks, what's really possible when they work with someone of that clinical grade.
Yeah. Well, I think I was saying earlier today, I think we're riding on the coattails of mental health because before the pandemic, we, defined a therapist or know what they do or how they can help. Dietitians really are in that same vein.
Yes.
So I give the analogy, I love analogies, so we're
Yes.
going to do a lot
Lay it on
today.
me.
But in the way of this, think about how I drive a car almost every single day, and most people are driving a car. However, I never received the education on how to do an oil change, how to change a tire, how to do any of that.
Right.
So I go to a specialist when I need that help.
Yes.
I still drive every day, and the same goes for eating. So we're eating every single day, but we never receive the education on how to put that together. What is the best way and the most optimal way for your own body?
Yes.
And so as at Kelly's Choice, we reach you wherever you are. So if you want to truly be vegan and you want to go down that road, we help you to be the healthiest vegan.
Right.
If you really love meat and you want to consume a lot of that, we help you to make sure you're getting enough fiber. So this is where it goes wherever you are, whatever your ethnicity or your religion.
Right.
We really meet you where you're at. Because if we're trying to put things in place that just don't fall in line with your ethics or whatever you're trying to achieve, we're not going to get anywhere. So we really do try to meet you where you are.
Yeah, no, I love that for sure. And I've said this on the show before, and I share with folks that I work with, is there's kind of like 3 pillars, 3 criteria you need to meet if you're not going to work with a specialist. And those would be having the time to figure this all out for yourself. So like you said, maybe somebody who's considering being vegan, they don't even know where to start. They've now got to take the time to figure that out. The second is the knowledge. You got to know what to do, right? If you're going to go about this whole nutrition thing on your own. And you need to have the desire to do it. And it's like a stool. If you don't have all 3 legs, it's going to fall over, right? So in this case, like for those of you who are watching, if you don't feel like you have the time or the knowledge or desire to make this happen for yourself, you got to reach out to Kelly's Choice and get a clinical grade professional to help you figure this stuff out. I mean, your team, Kelly, I'm sure they compress what is years of trying to figure this out into hours, if that, right? To get clients on track where they need to go and laser focused on what's going to make them successful, would you say?
That is exactly right. And it's really confusing time because there's a lot of knowledge out there that just basically is not true.
Right.
So people come to me and they say all these things and I'm like, where did you get that from?
Instagram.
So it is, yeah. So it is our responsibility to give you the most science-based, up-to-date information. And so that can be hard to decipher. That's what we do. So we take people through a plan, break down carbohydrates, break down proteins, and make that very tailored for that person. So if we could be working with a 15-year-old boy who's trying to increase muscle for lacrosse. We're actually working with someone right now, just like that. Or we're working with someone who has fatty liver disease and we're able to reverse that chronic disease.
Wow.
So this is where it's going to be very different depending on what their nutrition needs are. And that can be really hard to figure that out on your own. So that's our job. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if we could, Kelly, can we kind of dive into what that process looks like? Like if somebody's watching and they say, hey, this is starting to resonate with me now. I think Joe hooked me. I think Kelly hooked me. I want to check this out. What does that process look like to just kind of get the ball rolling and get on a plan that's congruent with their goals?
So if you go to our website, kellyschoice.org, you can book a dietitian right there on the site,
Wow.
and you can put in all of your criteria, what you're looking for, what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
We will get back to you. We have a scheduler that will go through your insurance, because this can go through insurance, and you can use your health savings card, which is
Wow,
huge.
that's huge.
And so we'll get you with the right dietitian who can truly reach your goals. Also, if you want us to come into your work site,
Mm-hmm.
again, right on our website, kellyschoice.org, you can fill out a contact us information there. We would love to come in and just to start with a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a whole mental health series right now. We're doing a gut series right now. There's a lot of fun things that we can bring into the work site and then getting that work site signed on. But once you're a part of the Kelly's Choice family,
Mm-hmm.
you really have access to so much.
Right.
So I'm on the American Heart Association board, and now we have the hands-only CPR training there for everyone to take
Wow.
advantage of. We just acquired an exercise company called Rowdy, so that will be available for them as well.
Very nice.
We have a diabetes series, a transformation series, and then the Kelly Choice Education, which is going to provide you with access to chef curated videos on knife skills, exercise,
Wow.
all fun things. And also it's an app and also a platform on the computer. You'll have access to track your food, which is
Right.
huge,
Huge.
right? So we can actually have interaction with that. It doesn't just go to outer space. We'll actually be helping you through that.
Yes.
You can track your steps. It connects with all the devices, and you can chat a registered dietitian.
Wow.
So you'll have all of that at your fingertips.
That's amazing. I mean, it's so funny. So, I mean, you know me. We've had several conversations before. I come out of like the fitness realm and some nutrition coaching as well. And really the key factor, at least that I've found working with folks, is that accountability piece and the education piece. And I know that your team handles that, I mean, probably more times over than they even need to make sure that folks are successful. I'd love to take a little step back really quick and touch on, you mentioned this briefly, is just like the volumes of misinformation that are out there and how people can get caught up in, like, you see these people on social media, they're just, I mean, really, they're just trying to make content, right? And fill their profiles with things to get stuff out there. Maybe they want to go viral or they just want to stay relevant. What are just a couple pieces that things like people could look out for to say, hey, you know what? Like this doesn't pass the sniff test for me, right? This might be kind of bogus. I might want to talk to a professional maybe from your team. Any sort of like things people should look out for in that when they're scrolling through their Instagram?
So really, truly look out for things that are restrictive. When you get into don't eat this, stay away from this, this is where that restrictive type of talk always gives me a red flag. So what are they trying to sell? What are they trying to do? And that's where when you're working with a dietitian, we understand macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. We understand micronutrients, which are your vitamins and minerals. And so this is where if you're eliminating huge portions of food, you may be lacking things that are necessary for metabolism, for cell development, and I mean, just a host of different things. So that's always a red flag for me.
Yeah, that's a huge one and a great piece. I mean, that's an easy one, right? Just people can keep that in mind. Like, hey, if this sounds like don't do this, or it sounds very extreme, right? Maybe that starts to throw up the red flag of, this isn't quite what I should be following. So, Kelly, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, I want to jump more into some of the tips, tactics, strategies, things people can do on the day-to-day to be successful with their nutrition. So we'll cover that after this message from our sponsors.
Cooper, the host of Cooper Talk Local, and I'm only as hip as my guests. And every week I'll be bringing in locally established musicians, comedians. My guest is one funny mother, Dina Blizzard, to talk about the entertainment world.
We quickly had a hit single and we toured the world and made records as bands do.
And life in general.
I always felt the music and I always would stomp my foot. I would always throw myself around, and that was just natural.
So don't forget, check me out on RBN Television.
Weeds, I have you surrounded. You just gonna stand there? Or are you gonna take your lawn back?
We're gonna take it back.
We're gonna take it back.
With Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action, it gets 3 jobs done at once. Kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and keeps your lawn growing strong. Glorious!
No. Get a bag of Scott's Triple Action today. It's guaranteed.
Feed it, Lon. Feed it.
Hi, I'm Angela Pipersberg, and I have a new show here in RVN Television called The Angela Pipersberg Show. And I want you to join me every week as I sit with guests and we discuss their life journeys, share wisdom, and tips that will inspire you to live your best life. Don't miss The Angela Pipersberg Show every week here on RVN Television, where we're celebrating life and we're inspiring you to greatness.
Welcome back to Real Results, and again with me today I've got Kelly Springer, the CEO and founder of Kelly's Choice. Now Kelly, we just got into a whole discussion about your origin story, but we left off with a tip that you had said about giving people a little bit of more strategy when they're scrolling through their Instagram and they're seeing all this misinformation when it comes to diet and nutrition. And we said basically if anything sounds extreme, it doesn't really pass that sniff test, it's time to maybe set that aside and keep scrolling, right, and move on.
Yeah.
What I'd love to do is get into, what are some more practical like tips, strategies, tactics, things that you would advise somebody on if maybe they're just starting their nutrition journey. They say, hey, I need to get healthier, I need to fix this. What are some things they can do today to make that shift and make that difference in their own health?
Well, there's so much impact when we're talking about digestive health. And when I say that word impact, what I'm talking about is nutrition has everything to do with that digestive tract.
Yes.
And how it's influencing mental health. So let's break that down.
Yeah.
There's 4 things that these gut bacteria need to survive. And there's about 100 trillion bacterial cells over these 30 feet.
Wow.
And here in central New York, where I live, there's the Great New York State Fair. So everyone around here has gotten a goldfish at some point in their life. So I call it the goldfish analogy that
Okay.
everyone can relate to, because everyone's had a goldfish at some point.
That's true.
So the goldfish needs, first of all, water, right? The goldfish needs water. If the goldfish just has a little bit of water, it's going to freak out, stress out. And so the same with our gut bacteria. They need a large amount of water and fluids coming through that are going to give it mobility and to move around and to stay healthy. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the fiber.
Okay.
We need to give it fish food, right? And the only type of fish food for those gut bacteria, you love this, don't you?
I do. I'm eating this up right now. This is great.
The only type of fish food is truly fiber-rich sources. So beans, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, these are the fish food for the gut bacteria. Okay, so we need to have fiber sources at each and every meal. We also need to make sure we have low chemicals or no chemicals. And this is where getting into preservatives, having all of those artificial sweeteners can really play damage. So think about adding chemicals to that fish bowl. What's going to happen to the fish?
Not good.
Yeah, I saw your face.
Not good.
Not good for the fish.
Right.
And so this is where staying away from any of those chemicals is truly going to help the fish. And lastly, remember when you saw that 6-year-old kid with that bag and the fish, and he's shaking the fish and causing massive stress?
Yeah.
The last thing is making sure we're reducing stress, and that's where exercise comes in. So if we're moving and we're reducing our stress level, our bacteria are also going to feel that too. So those 4 things are hydration, fiber, reduce chemicals, and reduce your stress by exercise. So those are my 4 tips, the goldfish analogy.
I love that. It's all in a nice wrapper with a goldfish analogy. A nice bow on top. And it's so simple to do, right? It's none of the things you're saying are like, oh, how am I going to figure that out, right? It's like, okay, let's drink some more water. Let's get the good stuff in, stop putting the bad stuff in, right? And reduce stress. Really, like you said, with exercise, maybe even just walking, like anything that's accessible to the individual that might be watching this, which is great. My question to you is like, most people might be looking at that and say, hey, I get that. Like I know that it seems pretty simple. How come folks they know what to do? Like let's say I walked into a cafeteria right now and I walked around everyone eating their food and I look at it, I look at them, and I look at their food, and I look at them, and I point at it, they're gonna do one of 2 things. They're gonna be all proud about how healthy they're eating, right? Or they're gonna start backpedaling and say, oh, well, I'm stressed and I'm tired and I have to have pizza. So what are some things you might recommend for folks who say, hey, I know I need to do this, but they don't do what they know? How do you get folks kind of tipping that first domino and getting momentum to do these things?
Well, I think when they're food journaling on the app, we have the ability to look at that food journal and give some really easy, fun cheerleader type of
Yeah.
tips to get people kind of in the right direction.
Right.
But I have to go back and tell you that I would say 90% of people actually don't know what to do.
Okay.
And that's our first kind of, we're assuming they do because they eat
Right.
every day, kind of look back to the car analogy.
Yes.
But truly, when I ask a group of people what foods actually contain fiber or how much fiber, they don't know.
Right.
And so this is where education comes into play and why it's so critical to have this education a part of private practice and a part of work sites. Because unless we're educating, we can't assume that they actually know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you also mentioned journaling, right? Or just even tracking in general, which I'm a huge proponent of. Like any way that you can track what you're doing and sort of be, reflecting on what's been going on can build a ton of awareness. And I think too, and you can correct me if this is not your experience, but I'd imagine it is when folks start to track, they tend to be a little more honest with themselves, right? Because they have to put it down in their journal or their food log, whatever they're doing. What are some other benefits you've seen from folks who begin to take that journaling journey, if you will?
It really does help. I think self-awareness is a huge piece. And so if we can truly take a picture of it and see what's going in, and you're not just mindlessly eating on, potato chips or whatever it is, we're truly in the act of knowing what's going on. And that's why we also never kick people off this platform, because whenever they feel like they're maybe going off track, they can just start journaling again to get back on and to have that support. So we are always there to assist them and help them through.
That's huge. And you'd mentioned this a couple of times earlier, just like the link between your nutrition, but also mental health, right? And the toll that folks' mental health has taken over the last number of years. Can we touch on that a little more with the time we have left in terms of, what can we do?
Yes, it's a
with
huge
that
topic.
Yeah, let's do
So
it.
we actually just wrote an article for a magazine yesterday about this topic. So 90% of your serotonin or happiness transmitter is not made in your brain, it's made in your digestive tract.
Right.
So without having good nutrition sources to feed these gut bacteria to produce the serotonin, you're going to be diminished. And so this is where there's a direct link between a lack of fiber and higher instance of depression and anxiety.
Wow.
So if we're able to truly get, and I've been able to prove this with prison systems of giving them higher fiber. And it's unbelievable. The guy said, Captain Flynn said, Kelly, is this voodoo? Like the inmates are like happier. There's less holds. So we're being able to do this in children's facilities like Hillside Children's Center.
Right.
So we're able to actually take food
Right.
and change around their gut bacteria to truly decrease any mental health issues, which is mind blowing.
That's huge. So, okay, so on that topic, what are like a couple foods that folks should be incorporating maybe on a daily basis that have that high fiber impact for them?
So one of the highest fiber foods are beans, and there's so many beans. And then again, there's a guy on the internet that's saying beans are going to kill you. Well, let me tell you that beans have been used in every single culture around the world from the beginning of time.
Right.
You cook beans and it releases what he's calling. So again, be careful of what's out there.
Right.
But they are one of the highest. There's so many different varieties of beans that you can incorporate. Just half a can of beans or half a cup of beans can provide you the fiber that you need for that meal. So it's you don't have to have a lot. Also, there's so many good whole grains that are out there. One of our favorite is farro. We love it. Quinoa, you can mix them. Also, fruits and vegetables. So this is where our tagline at Kelly's Choice is real people promoting real food.
Love it.
And so this is where if that food truly has one ingredient, you're good.
Right. You're doing okay. I think that's, so huge. And those are like all delicious foods. Like that's not anything weird or like unpalatable. You'd be very proud, actually. This is a true story. For dinner last night, we had a 3-bean chili. So I've got my fiber in for the day, or at least yesterday anyway. So that's all good there. But I think really following that and then also mixing that with the water, right back to the goldfish analogy. If you're hydrating enough and getting that fiber in, folks could probably see a noticeable difference, would you say, right away, maybe in their mood?
Yes, right away. They see that their blood sugars are stabilized. They feel like they're full sooner and longer.
Right.
And so this is where, we're just getting into all these weight loss medications. If they truly added more fiber and more water in, they would get that same effect.
Wow. I mean, that's really huge, right? Because I know there's a big hubbub now around this whole like semaglutide thing, right? Or
Yes.
Wegovy,
Yes.
Ozempic, like that whole deal. So maybe we can touch on that for a minute or two. For folks watching who maybe aren't familiar with these peptides or these prescriptions, what are some of the benefits that they can maybe find if they were to use them?
Well, so this is where we just did a presentation yesterday. Our amazing intern just did a presentation for us on all of these. So it was really interesting to see the different mechanisms.
Yes.
But really and truly, if you incorporate more fiber and water, you're going to get a natural same effect as you would with these drugs. And these drugs can cost you about $500 to $1,000 a month.
What?
And after you get off of them, you can replace all of your weight back
Right.
if you don't change diet habits. So this is where we will work with you. Again, we'll work wherever you are, but our goal is to educate you. So if you're on or off the drug or choose not to take the drug, we can truly help you reach your weight loss goals either way.
Yeah, isn't that insane? Like literally, even just following your goldfish analogy alone, you can save money, headache. You don't have to inject yourself with a needle or anything like that. You can literally do this just going to your grocery store, shopping the perimeter, getting single ingredient foods, some of the ones you mentioned as well, and get the same effect and not yo-yo back up to where you were when all this is said and done. So I think like that's probably one of the biggest takeaways today is just to focus on those basics, those fundamentals really.
Yes, and we make it easy. So many of the people that come through our program, they said, I couldn't believe how easy it was. I couldn't believe this was, it was fun. I wanted to come back. Like our retention rate is incredible because we make it fun and light. We're not the food police. So
Good.
I may have had pizza this morning for breakfast.
No judgment.
So.
No judgment. You're the expert. Well, yeah, Kelly, I mean.
No, it's like once in a while, the majority of your diet. So this is where really truly enjoying your food, working with the dietitian, can really truly help you.
Yeah, and I think it's a balance, right? Like I know in my family, like food is something that we all connect over, right? That's how we show love. I know in my house, like if you were to come over, it's, hey, can I fix you something, right? That's how I grew up is food is an expression of love, an expression of connection. It's, you don't want to lose that and be stuck in that sort of dieting prison, so to speak. So Kelly, we're coming up on time here. Are there any last minute like tidbits we need to get out to the audience or we should share, or really is kind of the takeaway like, hey, start treating yourself like that goldfish, keep it simple?
Well, I think the first step is to take action. Call us today, reach out on, you can go on Instagram. It's Kelly's Choice _nutrition. Reach us there. Reach us on kellyschoice.org. Take that first step of action today. Reach out to us. See how one visit could go. Get us into your worksite for one presentation. Just take action today. It's never too late. You truly will learn something from that interaction. And I think that's like just bringing down that barrier. Take action today.
I love that. Take the first step, make that little action, make the call, go to the website, fill out the form, do something. Get in touch with Kelly's team because they can help change your life for sure. So Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on. And for those who are watching, we'll see you on the next episode of Real Results.